Deconverted Man here. So, a God for the Atheist posted on Johnny Drivebye's video of why he's an atheist, and Johnny's video is far more artistic than my deconversion story, and he's been around a while and I haven't given him a shout out, and I really should, because he's a cool guy. So go check him out. He drew me once, and that's pretty cool. I still haven't used that drawing in any of my videos, even though I said I would. Anyway, so this God for the Atheist has a 17-second long video, which starts with a treatise just explaining kind of like who the video is for. Now, he has a whopping 0 subscribers, so I think we can change that. I want to see how much pull I have with all of you. Go subscribe to A God for the Atheist so you can watch what this person does with our text responses and our video responses. Anyway, so this basically says that there's two people looking for the atheist that wants to find God if there's evidence for it, and then the atheist that just wants to debunk stuff, I guess. So either way, that fits me. So I'll skip that paragraph and go on to the next thing, which is not a proof or an argument, but I would look at this as some questions, some reflections that this person has come up with. So he says, I guess I could show you the screen. Somebody will complain that I didn't do a screenshot if I do that. I'm gonna do it anyways. Okay, so yeah, there it is. Alright, now I'm gonna read it. Let's begin with science and its explanation of some of the physical aspects of our perception of reality. Not sure why you would put it that way, but okay. One that fascinates me is the law of the conservation of energy, which says energy cannot be created or destroyed. That is a fascinating one. I think that what you're missing there is that energy changes from one form to another. So that's kind of an important part about that, but oh well. It fascinates me because it correlates to the concept of a God that is eternal and everlasting and all-powerful. How? Why? You're talking about things inside the universe, things that are physical in nature. Unless you're saying that God is physical in nature and inside the universe, then it can't correlate to God. As far as being eternal, no, it's not. Energy eventually will become such that it's so diffuse that the universe will probably end in what's known as the heat death, when all energy has been essentially used up. That's not the same as it being destroyed, because it has changed over time, but eventually it just kind of runs down, and then that's the end of that. And so the universe will just drift on. All the different planets and dead stars will just continue to move apart from each other into the black void of forever. But hey, don't get depressed, because that's like trillions of years away. So I don't think that really is eternal, since it wears out, and it did have some sort of origin in the Big Bang, so it wasn't around forever, unless whatever happened at the T.0 of the Big Bang was always there, which I suppose that's possible, but is that energy? I don't know. But it still wouldn't correlate very well to a God, but it depends on what you mean by God. But by eternal you mean forever, has always been, and that's not energy, so that doesn't correlate. And everlasting, no, because it's not something that's going to last forever. And I don't know about all-powerful, because I don't know how energy would be all-powerful. Certainly energy is a phenomenon, but does it have all power? Well, I suppose we use energy for everything in some way or the other. I don't know if that makes it all powerful. I don't know, but okay. Alright. So, what is all the energy that we call the universe doing with itself? That's a weird question. I don't know. Is it constantly creating and recreating itself, and part of the universe is the planet Earth and all the people on it? I don't know. The universe is the creator of heaven and earth. I don't know what you mean by heaven, but the universe didn't create the earth. The earth formed because of gravity. And I guess if you want to say that the universe made gravity, that too wouldn't really be correct. So I think your terms are kind of faulty here. That sounds eerily familiar. The only thing missing is truth, righteousness, and love. ... I was just thinking. Yes, what is thinking in its purest, simplest form? That's right. Thinking is the firing of synapses. It's a simple binary system of on and off explosions of energy. Putting one and one together, I asked myself, how is the universe creating and recreating itself? I wonder if the universe might have some of these binary symptomatic explosions occurring within it. So, are you saying that the universe is a giant brain and that the giant brain is God? I mean, you have a lot of questions here. And I have to go back to my other talking points, and I'll link it in the description for you here at God for the Atheist, and say that even if I had the answers for all of these questions, would that make you stop believing in God? See, none of these things will cause me to think that there is a God, because none of these things are things that I require to think that something is. And so in order to get to the place where I would think that there is anything that we would call a God, you have to have one of three things. Now, the first is empirical evidence. Now, empirical evidence is visible evidence. If I say I have a red cup, and then I hold up a red cup, well, then I have a red cup, because I had empirical evidence of a red cup. Now, empirical evidence might mean you need a telescope or a microscope or some sort of electronic device that can see radiation that the naked eye can't see, and that's all fine. If you have any of that for God, great, let's see that, because nobody that I am aware of has ever shown that. The next thing I would need is a repeatable test, under controlled conditions ideally. That's when you make a prediction and you run a test and you continually run it and you get results. Like if I drop the red cup, it will fall down because of this phenomenon that we're going to call gravity, and no matter how many times I drop it, it will continue to be dropped and fall, and there you go, I have a repeatable test. The last thing that I would need to think that something is even possibly true would be a valid and sound argument. I usually say logically coherent argument. Now, this is an argument free of logical fallacies. Now, if I had that, but not the first two, I would investigate the conclusion more. It would cause me to look into it more deeply. Although I've never run across a valid and sound argument that didn't also have empirical evidence and or a repeatable test associated with it. Perhaps because reality doesn't allow for an argumentation that lacks empirical evidence or a repeatable test. But I wager that someone somewhere will be smart enough to come up with an argument that is valid and sound, that lacks empirical evidence and or a repeatable test, and yet is valid and sound. But I don't know. I've never seen that argument, so I await that argument. I leave it as a possible thing that somebody might possibly come up with. But so far, all three of these things have been denied, if you will, by God, if God exists, and the believers and followers of God have yet to produce any of these things. Yet, all three, or at least one of the three, is present for everything else. Energy is something that we can measure and test and verify. Where's that for God? It doesn't do any good to say, well, what about this and what about that and all these questions, because even if we had the answers, that wouldn't negate your belief in God. And so, what is it that brought you to a belief in God? Is it these questions? Maybe, I don't know. But I would say that not having the answers to questions doesn't necessitate a God. If my door over there opens up all by itself right now, nope, didn't happen, would I say it was a ghost? Well, no, because I don't have an example of a ghost. So I can't say that it is something without having proof that that thing is actual in the first place. Similarly with God, there's no example of God. So to conclude God is unwarranted at this time. Look forward to your ongoing series if you make one, and future comments, but I do want you to have audio next time you make a video. But we don't have an empirical evidence, repeated test, or a logically coherent argument, and unless and until we do, we must continue to be skeptical of your conclusions. I don't know why I said that. Conclusions like that. I'm just gonna end the video now.